go. To the public meeting to discuss Southern Shores traffic management options for this season. I want to start out by saying, thank you all for coming. Primarily, it's going to be Cliff making the presentation, but I'm going to be the referee. So if you want to talk, please be recognized. We would like you to come up to the microphone because it is being recorded. Everyone's on camera right now, and everyone is being recorded. Can you hear me okay, Sheila?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we're going to start off with the presentation, but I want to at least get you all in the frame of mind that we're not here to solve the traffic problem, okay? You know, I wish I could wave a magic wand, you know, but I can't. It doesn't exist. There's no one solution. There's no one magic, you know, way to make it go away. We're a popular destination. We have a lot of properties that are under rental agreements, and that's just that's who we are as a community. So I thank you all for coming. We're going to have the presentation. We're going to have the opportunity for questions and comments. I'm going to ask you to keep it to 3 or 4 minutes because I want everybody to have a chance to talk. Please be respectful of your neighbors. If at any time, you know, we need to move on, you'll have me come up here and just kind of let you know that we need to move on. So that's, I mean, I hope it doesn't get to that. I don't think it will. Anyway, but that's what we're here to do. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Cliff.
Okay. Again, I just echo what she said, and thank you all for coming. I'm going to present some options and go through some things. And one thing I want to start off by saying is, you know, last year we tried some things, we implemented some measures, but the thing that was missing was we didn't have an opportunity for you all to know what was going to happen until a couple of days, in some cases, before it even happened. And that the best example of that was on East Dogwood when we closed the median. We just didn't give enough time, and y'all didn't have the opportunity to weigh in on some of this. So that's a large part of what we're trying to do this year. I can tell you, just the things that are kind of non-construction or non-implemented actions that are still going on. Obviously, this council has really championed and kind of reinvigorated or been rejuvenated to try and take a very active role again in trying to pursue the Mid-Currituck Bridge. Maybe nobody in our lifetime sees it. Maybe we do. There's long struggle, but they're continuing to fight that. The mayor has taken a pretty active role in trying to communicate more and getting the input and help from the property managers. One of the things that she's done was working through Willow Kelly and the property managers, was able to work with Clark Twitty and Twitty Realty. And actually the idea of putting together a video that would go out to the renter. The property managers have the ability to be able to send this video to the renters as they're coming in. And I will give you, I wanted to show you kind of what the first one of these videos looks like.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth, Mayor Southern Shores. I'm so happy that you are planning your vacation this year on the beautiful beaches of the Northern Outer Banks. I want you to get to your vacation home faster and safer. So rather than taking a tempting shortcut through our neighborhood streets, we are dedicating our resources to Duck Road. The traffic lights are going to favor the traffic on Duck Road. So look for more updates in the future before your trip, and be sure to stay on NC 158 and Duck Road so you get to your vacation home faster and safer. Thank you and happy vacation.
So the idea being that these will evolve over time. We'll update these. We'll send these as we go along, and try and get the property managers to take an active role in this. I need to stop and say two things that there's about 8 options. Some of them we're recommending, some of them we're asking the council to consider, all of them we're asking you to weigh in on. But 2 things that aren't being proposed or recommended here with this tonight are the no left turns, and closing or gating a street and only allowing residents through with the fob or whatever that case may be. The reasons for that are the no left turn. You all know that intersection is in Kitty Hawk's jurisdiction. It's a DOT road, but it's in Kitty Hawk's jurisdiction. And Kitty Hawk we all have some real concerns about the safety and whether or not it's a safe action. You've seen people turn U-turns and right in the middle of the bypass, and people that ignore the red light and turn anyway. And the data we've taken doesn't substantiate that. We can't definitively say that it has a impact to the magnitude of $40,000 a year. You could have one weekend where we do the no left turn and there's 3,000 cars that go down South Dogwood. The next weekend, we don't have the no left turn and there may be 3,500 cars that go down. And when you look at each weekend, there's not a whole lot of consistency there. The other about closing a public street it's simply this, that the legal advice that we get is that if you are going to close a public street, you have to treat everyone the same. We can't let some through on a public street and not let others through. So we can close the street, and you'll see some of those things being recommended, but it's closed to all. So
So we're going to pause now because those are the things we're not going to do. And as we were talking about making this presentation, we thought you guys might have some questions or comments at this point on the 2 things that we're not going to do. Does anybody have any questions or comments about those 2 things? And if you do, just raise your hand and we'll let you have a microphone. Debbie, you want to come up here? Sure.
Well, I wanted to thank everybody for all the work that you've done on this, because I know with the committees and the work that was done with the consultant, there's been a lot of thought put into it. I guess I'm a bit surprised about not the no left turn. I can kind of understand that, but the gating. And I would like to actually understand a little bit more about the legal aspects with that, because I am surprised that the consultant recommended this option. It was their number 1 option. And, how did they miss the fact that it's not legal to do this? Because they were talking about giving, putting on the cars the tags so people could get through and things like that. And it seems like there's a lot that can be done. So I'm a bit disappointed that it can't be done. And I guess I'm disappointed in the contractor too, that they didn't list this, because they specifically said it could still be a public roadway by just closing it temporarily. So again, I'm a little bit miffed by that, and want to know if there's going to be any more looking at this, if there's really anything that can be done, because it seems like it's the only way that can help all of our streets, not just the ones, in different places if we put barriers up, but it would help everyone. And I think there's enough ways to get around allowing people in that belong here. But even if then it was no longer a public street, what do we really lose if it's no longer a public street? If we do this and we only allow people in that we feel are appropriate to be coming in, and you can cast a wide net on that. How much do we really lose in money that we get to do our streets? And then is it worth it? I'd like to see kind of cost benefit analysis from that. But thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Clifford, you good to answer that?
I should say, you can do anything. But the legal advice we have is that the risk of doing that is it is too great. And that, it's a public street. It has to be open to the public. And I have chased this rabbit pretty hard because it sounds like the easiest, simplest way and the most effective thing that's going to happen is to do that. But the logistics of getting everyone, if we were to do a fob, everyone getting a fob that was supposed to get a fob. And that, again, if we're picking and choosing, that's where we get in a whole lot of trouble. The part about, I know you're 158, cars can still go on every stretch. You just can't get here from here. But people have a legal right. This is our attorney, a legal right to ingress and egress on public streets. And so that's the risk of cutting that off. That whether or not, we only get about $113,000 from the state and PAL bill money. So it's not a significant amount of money for the 37 streets. But the ramifications of a public street converting to a private street are pretty extensive because who's going to maintain it? When we abandon a public street, that road's got to go to someone. Does it go to property owners on the center line? Property on either side of that center line takes that property, and who has you have to do the deed and the title search, and who owns the land underneath the road, and who has a prescriptive right through their covenants of their neighborhood to be able to go on those streets. Well, do we lose, all the South Dogwood? Does that mean we can no longer, if a hurricane comes and FEMA comes in to assist, are they going to assist on that public street? And so that may be a convolute or roundabout way of telling you of the risk, not the risk being too great.
And the consultant that we had was not a lawyer. He was not an employee of the School of Government. He was a traffic engineer. So he did not have the wherewithal to take that into account when he was making that recommendation. All right.
I'll only comment on that. My name is Tommy Carroll, and I'm here as a citizen tonight, but I was the chairman of the Cut-Through Traffic Committee and have countless hours into this topic. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a traffic engineer, but I will have the conversation with any of those people on the topic, and I'm informed. If what your legal advice is saying, that you can't cut off that, you're not shutting off that road. You are creating, you just have to go another way around to it. So if what the legal advice you're getting is that you can't close that public road, which you actually aren't doing, then any cul-de-sac or anything that's put into the town is illegal. No different. Okay, so I strongly disagree on the homework and the lawyers and the traffic engineers that I've spoken to over the last 2 years that would disagree with that. So there's the other point of view. Thank you.
I really wasn't planning to speak, Elizabeth. Ann Scherdsma, formerly of 69 Hickory Trail for 23 years, prime spot for the cut-through traffic right there at the intersection of East Dogwood and Hickory. And I am saying I'm up here to say that I'm very disappointed that you're discontinuing the no left turn. I'm not surprised. I thought you were going to go in that direction because nothing had been said about it yet. But I can tell you factually, anecdotally, having seen the traffic on weekends for all those many years, it makes a difference. You can track it. You can watch the traffic. You can see it ebb and flow according to when that left turn is in effect or that prohibition is in effect. So I think it's very disappointing that you're backing away from what is a proven solution. I also don't know, Cliff, what you mean by, I can't say it has an impact to a magnitude of $40,000 a year. I don't know what that means. You how much is our budget now? Over 7 million? Yeah. $40,000 a year doesn't strike me as a lot to spend on our community and our safety and our peace of mind and our aesthetics, our enjoyment of our homes on summertime weekends. I imagine $40,000 is spent rather readily on a great many projects. In fact, we spent a lot just on the consultant's report and on the data, which I didn't hear about, as to where the traffic is coming from, which I thought was self-evident and didn't really need to be studied. But I strongly oppose ending the no left turn. And I think without it, you really can't staunch the traffic sufficiently to protect people on summertime weekends. They're just going to get in more than have in the past, and you're not going to be doing anything effective. Thank you.
Sir, come on up.
My name is Kevin Whaley. I live on South Dogwood. I'm the guy. When you had no left turns, I had more traffic in front of my house. Why? Because they bypass it. Instead of only 8 cars going by my house, I have 15 to 20 cars going by my house at a time. So I've never had a problem getting out, by the way. Never. Never. I'm by the golf course. I'm nowhere near where other people are at, and I can't speak for them at all. I know there's different problems. All I'm saying is no left turn made it worse. It wasn't bad, but it made it wasn't like a positive change at all. And I was one of those travelers that did that turn for many years. I didn't really think about it. I was inconveniencing anyone. So I think most of those people that travel here for vacation have no idea what they're doing to us when they do this to other people. I say farther down the chain when it all backs up. So I just wanted to share that. I wasn't planning to speak at all, but it was like no survey, just watching it as it goes by my driveway once in a while. Most of my time is in the back watching the golf course, which is great. So I just want to share that as a thought as you develop your plan. Thank you.
Anybody else? You want to hear about our plan? Okay, thanks.
Okay. So the part of the message is really trying to keep vehicles on 158 and 12. We've got a mobile message board. We'll have 3 of them. We'll be able to, for what it, we'll send the message. Like the mayor said, we're trying to keep the resources on these 2 roads. So we're encouraging folks by telling them they'll get there faster by staying on 158 and 12. Another thing that we'll do that we've had some luck with is continue to try and manipulate the Waze and Google Apps as best we can. Let's see. And so options. One thing we're recommending is that we close the road, and this is closed to everyone, at Hickory and East Dogwood. And that will cut off the traffic from being able, we found part of the street light, and I don't have all that information, is that, and you all know this, that of the cars that cut through on South Dogwood, a large majority of them, over 38-40%, are using this route to go to other points north. And we just think that this would be a pretty effective way of slowing traffic down on this street that's already narrow and dangerous for the cars to be on. So that's one option that we're recommending.
Is this Hickory is closed or Dogwood is closed?
It's Hickory. So cars that are on East Dogwood would not be able to turn, and those that live on this street would have to go up to Hillcrest to get out. Another measure we put in that we'll continue to put in or recommend to put in is something a little more substantial than the barricades we had last year, a more substantial barricade that says local. Now these road closed, local traffic only is not an enforceable sign. It goes back to what I said before. We can't we can't, again, the police chief can't pull somebody over because their license plate, it says Pennsylvania, and suspect that they're not local traffic. These are meant to hopefully deter folks from doing that. We're proposing to close the road at Ocean Boulevard and Duck Road. Another thing that we know is that from the data is that a lot of cars use Ocean Boulevard to try to get to Hickory to leapfrog that little bit of NC-12. And so this would, and I'll come back to this, because this would then mean that anyone that lives on the other side of this road closure would have to go up to one of the side streets to come back. The hope being that if they can't go straight up Ocean Boulevard, that they'll just stay on 12. Another option we're recommending, and we did these in the, some folks thought these helped, some folks didn't think these helped, but again, putting the barricades, blocking one road closed, local traffic only at these locations, with the idea being that hopefully cars that are trying to sneak their way up through the middle of town, some would see this sign and avoid doing that. And these are those 7 locations. So when a car comes up, this is Wax Myrtle and East Dogwood, this is what they would see. They would see, I'm sorry.
This time last year.
Yes. So that's something we think we ought to continue to pursue. So now those are things that I think are pretty easy for everyone to hope. Well, I mean, the road closures maybe not, but pretty simple to digest and accept, hopefully. Another option we've discussed is a little bit more, it's a lot more restrictive. It would close Sea Oaks, 11th, Hillcrest, and Hickory at NC-12. And again, this would be for everyone. So cars, last year we tried to close the median at East Dogwood, and we got a whole lot of pushback from folks that lived on the other side of that median that couldn't get out or get home without getting on 12. Doing this would still allow cars to go north and south on Sea Oaks, Hickory, and Wax Myrtle. But it would mean that cars that were trying to cut through would not be able to, this wouldn't be a cut through. It wouldn't be able to get out on NC-12 at any one of these intersections. Going back to those signs that we did last year, we would have to add the barricades that we did last year that says, going back to this, we'd have to add a sign to this that said no turnaround or something to try and get folks' attention to say, please believe us, the road's truly blocked up there. Otherwise, they're just going to, again, ignore it. And so this is where those locations would be with the roads blocked. And so if you're coming down Sea Oaks, this is what you'd see. You'd see the road completely blocked off and cars not being able to get out on 12, so it's not a cut through for them. This would obviously take some time. It would take some time for maybe the word to get out. Hopefully with the videos that we'd be sending, we can show this, actually show what this looks like to folks in hopes of grabbing their attention. This would be coming down Sea Oaks. This would be on NC-12, what it would look like from the other side. And so putting all those things in place, you'll see the road closed. The red squares are where the roads are closed. The green circles are where we've got the barricades and the local traffic only. And again, it would say road closed ahead, no turnaround, if we were to implement those things. The council could decide to do some, or yes, sir.
If all these.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just have a
Apologies.
question. If you're gonna close all of those, when people come up to those and they're gonna turn around, how do they get back to 12? Do they have to come back to Dolphin? Is it Porpoise? How would they get back to 12 if all those roads are closed?
If, like in this scenario, someone gets up here to Sea Oaks, they're going to have to turn around and go back to East Dogwood.
But Dogwood's closed.
East Dogwood's not closed.
It has a red thing there.
That's East Dogwood. That's
What's
Hickory.
that?
Hickory.
Oh, that's Hickory, okay. So they have to go back to Dogwood.
They have to go back to
Okay.
East Dogwood where there's traffic.
Or go down to, what about Dolphin and Porpoise? Will those be closed too, or are they gonna, so that's where I live. So they're gonna be going this way and then coming back to also.
Hopefully they won't be coming in there at all, because the message
Can we
that
make them-
plan, the message that we plan to get out far and wide and repetitive way is, we're a community, not cutthroat. So stay on NC 12 and 158, you'll get to your vacation home faster and safer. That's our message.
There's gonna be people not doing it.
There's gonna be people not doing that. The more the message gets out, the more people find out that if they do use our community as a cut-through, they're gonna lose time, they're gonna get to their destination, it's gonna take longer to get to their destination. But you're right, it's not a perfect system, and we're gonna have, some buy-in from the people who live where those roads are blocked, so that's another issue. I see lots of hands raised. Okay, hold on just a second, hold on. Do you want to make a few more points?
So
Let's get to just a few more thoughts, okay?
the council can, excuse me, pick, excuse me, the council can pick, implement, good Lord. This is not on purpose.
Is this you?
Yeah. The council could pick weekends, they could pick the option. The results are worse than the action we're taking. We can discontinue those. But again, the idea being, you all know ahead of time before we were to close Ocean Boulevard or to close Hickory that we're going to do that. All these measures communicated out, have considered whether or not we need to do that. Because cars they do turn here at these two X's and try and, again, leapfrog. Initially, I had thought, okay, so this is where the road splits. This is the triangle, and so we're going to have the road blocked right here, right at the that block to the far south. If we do that, then originally I thought we would probably need to block all of these other intersections, but I'm not sure that the advantage in this case is taking Ocean Boulevard. So once we take that away, the likelihood of anybody needing to use these cut-throughs probably goes away. But that's something we can consider. And then while this was painful, I mean, for a lot of folks, this was painful. It had a impact when we did this. But I would say it was the worst of traffic. It was the worst weekend I had all summer was when we did this, because the blowback was really pretty strong. So that's kind of, I don't know the best way to go through this option by option to find out whether or not there's an appetite for any of this, or if it's just one and all.
Pull up the map that shows all the intersections, all the options. Okay. All right, so let's just do the questions and comments first. If you raise your hand and come up to the microphone, sir. Tell us who you are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Greg Akers. I am new to the argument. I live at the intersection of East, South, North Dogwood. So you could almost say I live on the north side, so I probably don't have as much of a dog in the fight. But I tell you guys, what I'm sitting here listening to is a lot of ambiguities and a lot of uncertainties. I heard comments about a lawyer that was not very specific. They did not refer to statutes or things they were concerned about. I'm not hearing data. I got to be honest with you guys. I ran multi-billion-dollar organizations up until about 5 years ago. And if somebody had come to me with this, with the lack of data that I'm seeing, I would send them packing and said, you come back and you give me car counts or things that you're concerned about that I can make judgments on. The argument that we're going to make the road better going north on 12, that could be supported with data. What if those signs say it's 5 minutes faster if you stay on 12? Here's your incentive. Regardless of what your app says, you got 5 minutes to save if you go up 12. There needs to be a considered amount of effort put in to getting information that is specific and measurable and in a way that we can defend decisions we make. And anything we do with an option needs to be supported to understand what the ramification is based on the data we collect. Not just because somebody saw 15 cars and the next guy saw 5. I'll tell you guys, I was on 2 roads in North Raleigh last Friday afternoon. Traffic is in the eyes of the beholder. I didn't think our traffic was bad by comparison to what I was in for those 2 hours I was running up and down those roads Friday, but We got to have data, guys. We're spending a lot of time based upon what everyone thinks they see or what everyone thinks they feel. And we're not making decisions based upon data, and we need it.
Next.
Haven't seen it.
I have a question before.
Mark, can you come up and ask it so we can hear it on the microphone?
No, go through the whole list. All in here. First, I am Mark Daly. I live at the corner of Hillcrest and Sea Oats, and I have a picture of 8 cars facing each other at that intersection from a couple years back. So very familiar with that. So since I'm getting the whole thing out, I'll say that what I've said at every meeting is that we look at this as a nuisance issue, and a number of you have heard me say this before. It's a human safety issue that we've been blessed that no one that I know of has been seriously injured in this traffic, as has happened I know it happened in Corolla, and I think it happened in Duck. So going back to my question is, there was a time frame on the road closures and the local traffic only last year, wasn't there? That it was only like 10 to 7 or something like that?
That was the no left turn.
Okay, so is the plan for the road closures all day for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday? Okay,
Thank you for asking that. Yes, you can go out Friday night and come back in Monday morning.
okay. All right, now, one thing that I did notice when we had local traffic only at one of the locations you're proposing now, the Sea Oats and Hillcrest, made a world of difference if there was somebody in uniform there. Doesn't have to be one of our own policemen, so we're paying them a whole bunch of money, although a lot of people work extra hours in the summer because that's when the people are here. But having a policeman there made all the difference in the world, to the point where I have a little driveway that is itself a cut through. It has access on Sea Oats and Hillcrest. And the policeman was there, gave somebody a ticket for using that as a cut through. Also stopped someone for literally cutting through my yard. Now, admittedly, it's sand and weeds, but it's still my yard. And what the policeman was told was that, oh, we didn't know. You didn't know you weren't on the street anymore. So that's kind of the mentality we're dealing with, is the only reason to bring that up. The other one is kind of interesting, just to me, is that another thing that was effective with local traffic only is one of our citizens hung a sign on there that said checkpoint in 100 yards. Nobody went through the local traffic only. There was no checkpoint.
Great idea. Tommy, would you like to come back up to the microphone?
Yes. First, I wanted to make sure I said that during the whole process, whether it was during committee times and everything, Cliff has been unbelievable to deal with, and that's much appreciated. He's returned my phone calls, he's returned my emails, he's invited me into his office, and that is refreshing. I can say, I can also say, Mayor, you've done the same thing. And if we keep on talking, we're going to eventually find something that we agree on. Let me tell you why this plan doesn't work. And this is backed up. This whole plan is designed to keep everybody on Dogwood Trail. Bottom line, you are looking to keep everybody on Dogwood Trail. Okay? Fine. Great for the people up in the dunes. Great. But I'll have to refer to some notes. And
There are 3 more minutes, Tommy.
it'll be less than that. Every town, and I've done, please believe that this is based on research. Every town owes to its citizens a duty of care. And simply put, that duty of care is a legal obligation to take reasonable steps to not cause foreseeable harm to a person or their property. Every single plan that I have talked to town managers about and municipalities, the first thing that comes up is emergency vehicles. Okay, so we have an emergency vehicle, brand new, 5, 7, 8 million, a beautiful state-of-the-art facility in the corner of our town. And what we're going to do is we're going to back up cars to that fire station, preventing them and impeding their progress to an emergency. On Fifth Avenue the other night, if that house went up on a Saturday, they are in trouble. We are opening ourselves up with a town. Who we worried about now? Legality. Joe Blow from Ohio, who gets his feelings hurt that he can't cut through our neighborhood with no statutes, nothing. An insurance company, a plaintiff that has when one oceanfront house goes up in flames and it takes 3 of them along with it, and the reason is because we can't get to that house. The lawyers for the house owners who have their property ruined and the insurance companies will bring this town to its knees. You are opening up a serious liability. Every single town I've talked to, the main thing they talk about is emergency vehicles, down to having studies of speed bumps, where depending on the different fire truck it is, a ladder truck, a water pump truck, an ambulance, and they decide how much time it adds to that emergency vehicle getting from point A to point B. And they say, okay, we have a speed bump and it's a ladder truck. The ladder truck is 10 seconds. These are documented. This is facts. And an ambulance is 8 seconds. And then they say, well, we put a roundabout here to slow down traffic. That roundabout owes 15 seconds. And these traffic mitigation plans are trashed based on safety vehicles getting to their spot. The town owns a duty of care to people. It is a breach of your duty to keep all those cars on Dogwood and impede the progress of a safety vehicle. It's a closed case. It's an easy case. And I'll remind, and I know Paula was a judge, the homework I've done is that if someone has a problem up in the dunes and their house burns down, okay, they don't have to prove that, yes, it was delayed, yet this is how much it's delayed. All they have to prove is that you created a back jam. And closing all these top roads and keeping everybody on Dogwood is a no-brainer that you're doing that. This plan is simply, it's making the people in this town less safe. And it's not a doable thing. It shouldn't be a doable thing. If you do it, I mean, you can do whatever you want. So there you have it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
One thing I just wanted to say about the data, and I thought about, okay, do I present you all and that time's coming because you need to see what the streetlight data said, but of the 24, there's 45,000 cars that come across, according to DOT counters, that come across that Wright Memorial Bridge every Saturday and Sunday. It's about 24 on Saturday, 21 on Sunday. And the chief we have counters, and we've been collecting data and traffic counts for years. And we know the number of cars that go across each one of those points. The streetlight data would tell you, it says that the percentage of cars that cut through 2019, 20, and 21, June, July, and August, every day of the week that cut through our town either on South Dogwood or Juniper is only 7% of the traffic. And if I tell folks that live on that street, that's only 7%, that nobody cares about the data when that's their street. And so I can stand here and tell you that's not bad. The data says that's not bad. But if you live on that street, you don't really, it's not going to help you. You're not going to look at that and say, well, the data says it's not that bad. It's that bad. And if we were to take just Saturday and Sunday in 21, for those same months I gave you, the data says there's only 12% of cars that are cutting through our streets. So, and the data, what I think part will help is that when we do these things, the Waze apps will pick it up, and it'll take time, and that's what I think when this kicks in, that's what'll help. But I have tons and tons and tons of data, but I just, I just consciously decided not to share all that because it doesn't help. It doesn't help the folks that live on that street. And the part about the general statutes and I think, the attorney would say it's unconstitutional to stop somebody because you think they don't belong on the street, and treating one class of people different than another class is unconstitutional.
Anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak or ask a question, would you like that opportunity? Okay, anybody who already has had the opportunity but would like another opportunity to speak or ask a question? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I sympathize with those individuals that have problems with traffic in their community. As I said earlier, I live in South Dogwood. I don't consider I have a problem where I'm at. Okay, I'm in the middle of South Dogwood between the left turn and East Dogwood. And my concern personally, and I think Tommy hit it right on top of it, is that the solutions create problems for other people. And that's really the problem. If you have a solution to a problem that doesn't impact the other citizens of our town, great. But if you're going to move that problem from your community, from your street to my street, what's good about that? I think that's what a lot of things we're talking about is like, where we're going to move this problem to someone else. I wish I had the answer to how we solve this. I don't. I'm going to gut feeling if we do all the things we're talking about, it's really going to make things much more complicated and bad on other streets that aren't bad already, or as bad as it could be. Thank you.
Dave.
I would like to, I live on Ocean Boulevard after the split, so I'm one of the minority here. We don't have a traffic problem. And it's been my concern when I hear people talk about how we solve this and the many solutions and all that, that many of those just push to your point, just push the traffic somewhere else. Our problem is speed. And it's because we don't have the traffic volume that you do over in the dunes. People aren't cutting through. They're splitting off and trying to beat the traffic up to Hickory and turn left. And yes, it backs up to Hickory. But I've been run off the road. I've been flipped off. I've been brushed back onto the shoulder. I've watched people go by me standing in the middle of the road like this. You might say, what an idiot. Standing in the middle of the road like this, go by me at 45 miles an hour and go around me. And they just, it's like they don't even see it. So I applaud the idea of closing that split. It's not a huge volume, but all of those people are going to go on to 12. They're not going to go over into the dunes. And so I really am just trying to reinforce your point that the traffic is the traffic. It goes to the Duck Road and it comes out in the same place. There's too much traffic in this town. There's no way around that. But just moving it around is not going to, it's always going to make the problem worse for somebody else. And I'll be honest, I didn't know the extent of that until about a couple of years ago. I thought it was a lot of people crying wolf, and then I started seeing pictures and went, whoa, that's pretty bad. I wouldn't want to have to deal with that either. But just recognize that safety is a big part of that. And where are you, Tommy? I live a block from the fire station, so I'm a little bit less the other fire station. But anyway,
Thanks, Dave. Gary? You want to come back?
Yeah, I want to talk about something I actually know something about.
All right.
So I'm an internet tech guy. I've been doing this since 1985. Let's make the apps our benefit instead of a detriment. Who made the comment? Was it Colin that made the comment about let's get ways to learn where the blocks are? Guys, these are inference learning tools that actually do learn things. So if residents declare where blockages are on the streets, the apps will learn them. And all the residents will post the places where things are blocked. The apps will learn that and be reinforced by the people that are actually traveling the streets, that they're traveling in a way that says they're still there. So we can put these things to our advantage if we tell the apps, you know, these things are blocked and you can't pass through them. There's a problem. And by the way, the other thing that you may not be aware of is Waze is now owned by Google, and they share inference learning between the two. So 2 out of the 3 prominent apps would actually be affected by us declaring that these roads are closed and are not there for passage. Okay.
It works in reverse as well. So you can be static in your home, declare roads closed, but if there's vehicle traffic, Waze is detecting the phones moving through town, it overrides that road closure. Most progress we've had is that the town manager has made contact with the people at Waze and Google and has actually made the most progress with those thus far to have the roads marked as blocked on Waze. That was the furthest we got was last summer.
Well, if you really want to know the best way to do it, we could automate the process of declaring the blockages so that we're causing learning to occur in advance of anything coming in.
People in Germany take carts full of phones and get all the
Well,
data jammed up.
we can talk about that. My only point is, let's turn the technology to our advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. So a couple things I wanted to say. On Thursday morning, I'm on the agenda at the tourism board. So we're going to try to make an impact with the tourism board, and we're going to perhaps ask for some resources. We've got resources from the tourism board for the Kitty Hawk Police Department at the intersection of 158 and 12, with the idea that if you have an officer there, cars will continue to move instead of block the intersection. That seems to have been, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, a rather effective tool thus far.
Yeah, just as long as people know they're not directing traffic.
No,
That traffic's only moving as fast as the car moves.
okay. So what we'd like to do in conjunction with the town of Duck is try to get cars moving through town faster on 12. And so that's a goal, and that's what we're going to try to talk about. That's all I can say about that. As I've said before, you know, this is a vexing, complicated problem, and we're just one town, and we're going to try to call on the rest of the community to help us with it. What else was I going to say? We'll be talking about this at our May 3rd council meeting. We'll have some opportunity for council to discuss options. We'll make sure, Tommy, Carol, that our first responders don't have heartache over the implementation of any of these options, because you're exactly right. Safety is a priority. And I always say, I'm continuing to be amazed that we don't have more serious accidents, serious injuries, and God forbid fatalities as a result of change-out traffic days. I'm continuing my conversations with property management companies. This is a long-term solution of trying to get a few more people to check in on some other day other than Saturday. That's a long-term solution, okay? But continuing to have those conversations. The bridge has always been mentioned as a long-term potential contributor as a solution to help our traffic situation. And this council, I think, has done everything we can do to try to see if we can get the bridge built sooner rather than later. Yes, ma'am.
Tell us some of the things that you've done in the last month to try to get the bridge. That's, you know, I feel.
Paula, you should come up to the microphone. Watch the wires.
Yeah, I'm not a traffic engineer, and I have no solution for the cut-through traffic. My big emphasis is on getting this bridge built. And I know a lot of you are really in the know about this. The Southern Environmental Law Center lost their lawsuit in the federal district court here in North Carolina. They've appealed it to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, which sits in Richmond. So the next thing that will happen is the case will be heard before a panel of 3 judges. I was shocked when I found out that no one in Dare County or Currituck County had ever filed an amicus brief in those cases. So the Southern Shores Town Council has authorized our town attorney to begin drafting an amicus brief to be filed on behalf of Southern Shores. And we are being joined by Duck, Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil, everybody up and down
No, we're being joined by Currituck County
financially.
financially and as a sign-on. We're being joined by the town of Duck financially and as a sign-on. The
Oh.
Duck Community and Business Alliance as a sign-on and a financial supporter. And I'm seeking the support of all of the other municipalities in Dare as well as Dare County. I don't have their commitments yet.
Right, but the mayor has been successful in having all of the communities in Dare County pass resolutions in support of the bridge being built. This will be the first time that Dare and Currituck counties have appeared in front of the court to say, this bridge is important to us. And I don't know that it will change the outcome of the case, but I'm certainly hopeful that it will speed up the resolution, because long-term, that's the solution. You know, that's the only viable solution to our traffic. Whatever we can do here in Southern Shores is just going to be extremely difficult. We also have been joined in the resolution by the Albemarle Rural Planning Organization, which are the 10 counties in northeastern North Carolina. So I think this is really major, and your mayor has been out there twisting arms and calling in favors and making friends, and we're hoping that the brief has to be filed by May the 12th. We're hoping to get a little local publicity about this, so hopefully you'll be reading it in the papers. And you know, judges are like everybody else. They live in the real world. Who knows? The judges on this panel might vacation on the Outer Banks and they might be stuck in traffic. I don't know. But I do think this is one thing that we've done that is really solid, and I feel very hopeful about this. So thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, Cliff, are you, one more speaker. Yes, sir. Come on up and introduce yourself.
Oh, excuse me. My name is Mike Walton. I live off of South Dogwood, about halfway between the north end and the south end on Highway 12. I mean 158. There's a few points I want to make because I'm kind of, my blood is boiling just a little bit. I got here about 10 minutes late, so I didn't hear any explanation as to why there's no longer a no left turn signal. That just blows my mind. So at some point, I'd like to hear that, and my apologies again for being late. As the lady just mentioned, the only solution for us is the bridge. I mean, that's it, but who knows when that's going to be. So everything else is just a Band-Aid. For example, no left turn. I will sit there and watch people, and I've done it a lot of times. And I've responded to Ann's column a few times to say, I've sat there and watched the no left turn coming off of 158. And then about, every fifth or sixth car seemed like would go ahead and make the turn anyway. So it seemed like, one officer sitting there all day long would just come up with all kinds of fines if that would be an option. It was slow that thing down a little bit. The WAS app, I saw a humorous video yesterday. It was a speed trap, a police officer, and he had the app in his car, and he was watching people pop up the speed trap ahead. He would turn it off. He said, oh, look at that. And he'd turn it off. So it's effective to some degree. You talk about a serious accident. Many years ago, we were in here for this very same discussion, and I passed out lots of photos, graphic photos of my daughter who had been hit by a tourist on her bike. 2 years after that accident, we were still pulling large pieces of glass out of her leg, out of her foot, actually. So yeah, accidents have happened here. Absolutely have. I believe it was Leo, if I remember correctly. I'm sitting at the north end of the U-turn off of Duckwoods Drive, just counting cars making the U-turn. It was about 50 an hour, and I believe Leo was sitting on the other side of the U-turn. So it was about 50 an hour. I mean, you might say I have nothing better to do, so I'm watching traffic. I'd sit at Duckwoods Country Club before the no left turn was put in place. I was counting over 200 cars an hour. I mean, why in the world would you allow it to come through South Dogwood Trail? I mean, nowhere is good, and the bridge is the only option. But you know, and like, see, even the local signs, you know, no through traffic on the local people only. I'd sit there and even watch those, and sure enough, people pull up. They think about it for a second. Oh, to hell with it, just go on through it. So, but anyway, it's a deterrent. It helps, but the only thing it's going to help is the bridge, and that's a long way off. But yes, I just wanted to point out that there have definitely been accidents. My daughter was one of them, and some of you, if you were here, you saw the pictures because they were ugly. They were bad. So please, if nothing else, at least do all this and then put that no left turn sign back up there. Good Lord, please do that.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Ursula?
I just have a question.
Everyone else had to come up here, Ursula.
Have the real estate companies been helping?
They
Have you found that
Yes.
they're going to do, what are they going to do?
So Clark Tweedy is the reason that video was made.
Right.
He has his own videographer studio. He's offered to partner with us throughout the
Okay.
season. He communicates regularly with his clients, most of which are Dare, North Dare, and Currituck. Property renters, and also property owners that do the renting. So he's been a great partner so far, and I know he wants to try to help any way he can.
Yeah.
That's why he had me up
What
here.
about the other real estate?
And so what we're going to do with this messaging is we're going to, in addition to the signs that you see up there now, we're going to, anything we want to get out to all of the property management companies that handle properties in the north. Willow Kelly will, all she has to do is hit the send button, and it'll go to everybody. So yeah, Willow said, you send me anything you want, and I will send it out. So she's already made that.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thanks for all you're
Thanks, Russell.
doing, trying.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
One short comment.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Mark?
I just anecdotally, I was remiss. From my street corner, the no left turn was extremely effective.
Okay, thank you. Tom?
One last comment.
Yes, sir.
According to the representative from DOT, the bridge will reduce the traffic in Southern Shores by 40%. So here we are, kicking the can down the road. We have 10,000 cars coming through here, and that's the end game. We get 6. Ridiculous. I don't believe any video is going to work. People are going to look at that Waze. They're going to cut through the shortest way. It is absolutely shorter to cut through. I have 12 employees that used to come over from Currituck. Cutting through Southern Shores, traffic or no traffic, is a shorter way, and people are going to continue to do it. And I would like an explanation from an attorney. Please, just give me an explanation, because my recommendation was for my committee was to have everybody in the town of Southern Shores, no different than a town parking sticker, have a transponder. There would be one gate right by the fire station. And if you live in Southern Shores and you're coming from Norfolk, you can get through because the gate opens. If you're coming from New Jersey or Ohio, you can't get through our town. It is the simplest, least expensive, uses the least amount of resources, and makes the most sense. And on top of that, and I'll end here, that nobody, absolutely nobody, is addressing the problem of the people leaving the Outer Banks, leaving Kerala, and what they call rat runners, and they're coming through our town on Saturdays and Sundays, and they are flying through there. None of these things here address that. None of them. One gate at the school, everybody, and I want to hear what's illegal about that. You're not closing off the road. It's no different than making it a cul-de-sac. So I would look forward to that response from an attorney. Thank you for listening to me and putting up with me. Thank you.
Lynn, you want one more time?
I just have to agree with this gentleman right here and also address the fact of people coming north on Route 12 after they pass Chickahaw, they're all turning left on Porpoise and Dogwood. And not Porpoise and Dolphin, and then zooming up Wax Myrtle, right in front of my house, 50 miles an hour. Lots of families live on that road, including one of our town councilmen. So you should really have a no left turn there too.
Okay, thanks, Lynn. All right. Thank you all. Any council members want to address the group? No? Okay.
I would like to say something.
Ann, one more time.
Well, I just would like to say thank you. You know, I appreciate all the efforts going into this. I really do. I think you should keep the no left turn. But I appreciate that you're trying different combinations of calming measures and road closures and, you know, mixing it up and really giving it your attention and focus, which hasn't been done ever. As a longtime resident homeowner, I really do appreciate it a lot, and I thank you for that.
Thanks,
So
Ann.
I don't want to be negative about it, because I think you're doing a great job. You know, time will tell about how things will progress. But thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Ann.
Especially Cliff.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, everyone. Oops, Ursula,
Elizabeth, when are we going to know more?
when are you going to know more? Like I said, it's on the agenda for the May 3rd Town Council meeting.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Have a great, safe evening.